9:34. We are going to begin in a minute. So if everyone could please take your seats.
I was in your district.
If we could get a roll call, please.
Are these on?
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Senator Berman.
Here.
Senator Bernard.
Here.
Senator Polsky. Here. Senator Harrell. Here. Representative Edmonds. Representative Gerwig.
Here.
Representative Gossett-Seidman. She's on her way. She's stuck in traffic. Representative
You're supposed to be over there, but
Skidmore.
Here.
Representative Snyder.
doesn't matter. Do whatever you want.
Representative Tendrich.
Excused.
Yes. Representative Weinberger. Quorum's not needed, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And for the commission?
I can,
Would you like?
Mayor Baxter,
Here.
Vice Mayor Woodward,
Here.
Commissioner Weiss,
Here.
Commissioner Flores,
Here.
Commissioner Powell, Commissioner Sachs.
Thank you. We're going to start with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. I guess I will do the invocation. God, thank you for being here with us today. Please help guide our mind, thoughts, and actions, and to do what's best for everyone involved. Amen.
Madam Mayor, I forgot. Representative-elect Rob Long.
Here.
And congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everyone. And thank you for joining us at the Joint County Commission / Legislative Delegation Workshop this morning. I welcome the legislative delegation to our joint workshop and ask that Vice Chair Skidmore to any welcoming comments before the delegation member introduce themselves.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everyone. Representative Tendrich is unable to be here this morning because of a family emergency, but she did ask if I would read something she wrote to take a moment of silence for the victims of the Australia mass shooting. So if you would please give me a moment. We are currently celebrating Hanukkah, a time that honors the miracle of light. This holiday is a reminder that even in the darkest moments, hope, faith, and resilience prevail. That message of light feels especially important today as we mourn the hate-driven anti-Semitic attack against Jewish people in Bondi, Australia, an attack that tragically took the lives of 15 people at a Hanukkah celebration. Among those 15 was a 10-year-old girl, a rabbi, and a Holocaust survivor who died while shielding his wife from bullets. Acts of hatred and intimidation targeting Jews are not isolated. They are part of a global rise in anti-Semitism. Intimidation and violence meant to silence Jewish communities do not divide us, they unite us, along with our allies, to confront hate and stand stronger together. What we do in these moments matter, and what we do next as a community must reflect unwavering unity and a shared commitment to protect one another from hate and violence, because an attack on one is an attack on all. I now ask that we take a moment of silence for the victims, their families, and all those affected by this tragedy. May their memories forever be a blessing. Thank you very much. Rep. Tendrich sends her best wishes for everyone. Thank you. And happy to be here. We are glad to continue the tradition of meeting with our colleagues on the County Commission. We're looking forward to hearing all about your priorities for this upcoming session. And I think we're going to let our members introduce themselves. And just to make it easy, let's just go around the table, and we'll start with Senator Polsky and any staff you might have.
Okay, great. Hi, I'm Tina Polsky. I represent District 30 in Palm Beach. It's just now southern half of Boca Raton. Most of the rest of the district is in Northwest Broward. This is my 8th year here. Hard to believe. Happy to be here. There she is, Shana Cohen, and I saw Savannah Marshall. There she is. And our Robert Mariaja is back in the district, who had a son recently. So very excited for him and his growing family. Thank you.
Senator Bernard?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My name is Mac Bernard, State Senator for District 24. I've been a senator for about a year now, and my district starts to the north in the town of North Palm Beach, and it goes all the way down to the Boynton Beach line. I'm really happy to be here to have a discussion with the Board of County Commissioners and to basically protect the residents in Palm Beach County and Tallahassee. And lastly, Victoria did recognize Rob Long as Rep-elect, but Rob Long is not Rep-elect because he is elected on day one. So you're not Rep-elect. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Gerwig.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here, 5 minutes from home. Yeah, I know that's not the same for everyone in the room, but it's nice when it happens to you. So I represent District 93. I just finished my first half of the freshman year. So another thing that's confusing is we get 2 years for each level. So just finished my first half of my freshman year and glad to serve. My district is Wellington, a little bit of Green Acres. We kind of divide Green Acres in half with Rep. Tendrich, and some unincorporated Palm Beach County that forms a big triangle. It's a very interesting shaped district. So happy to be here. I do have Reed Ragsdale. Reed, if you could, yes, he's over there working. He loves these meetings because he just spends the whole time on his laptop. I get the most concentrated service out of him during these. So thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here.
Thank you. Representative Long.
All right. So I just got elected on Tuesday. I represent District 90. I guess I'm a freshman for 3 years, apparently. So I'm learning.
You're a red shirt.
I'm a red shirt, apparently.
Like it or not.
So I'm basically filling in for the last year of what would have been the late Joe Casello's final term up there. That's why we had a special election. And so District 90 is made up of Boynton Beach, Delray Beach, Ocean Ridge, Briny Breezes, Gulfstream, and the town of Gulf. And I'm really excited to be here with all of you today.
And do you have any staff
I
here?
do. My amazing new legislative aide, not new to this, but new to me, is Christy Fernley, who is here today.
Great, thank you. Senator Harrell.
Thank you very much. Good morning. It's a delight to be here. I'm Senator Gail Harrell. I represent District 31, and you are actually in my district because we're on the northern side of Palm Beach County, of Southern Boulevard, and it kind of stair steps. I have the northern part of Palm Beach County, as well as all of Martin County, as well as about a third of Palm Beach County. So it's a very large district and incorporates a good chunk of the northern side and western side, including Pahokee. So it's a delight to be here. I have with me my legislative aide, Karen Sweeney, who handles all our policy matters. And then also I have Carrie Lira, who handles all our budget requests. So if you're looking for money, please see Carrie. If you're looking for policy, please see Karen. And at home, I have Ann Baldock, who handles all our constituent matters. And it's a delight to be here. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Lori Berman, Senator from District 26. District 26 starts in Boca Raton and then goes up to Delray Beach, Boynton Beach, Highland Beach, Briny Breezes, Gulf, Ocean Ridge, and Wellington. It cuts over to Wellington and includes Belglade and South Bay. So it's a very big district on the other side of the road. So if you were on the other side of the road, that would be my district. I have with me here today my staff, Troy Grass and Brenda Bryant, and I don't see Sophia. Is she here? Oh, okay. Okay, and Sophia Kabaj. And I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday. And I do want to say, I know we took a moment of silence for Australia, and I'm grateful that we did that, but I'm also very distraught over what happened at Brown University, and I think we also should acknowledge that and make sure that we start to talk a little bit more about gun violence in America. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Peggy Gossett-Seidman. I represent District 91. It is the southeast corner of our great county, Boca Raton, Highland Beach, and the southwest county pocket specifically. I like to say I represent the people and the fish because I keep running a lot of water projects and water bills. So we'll keep on with that. And it's a pleasure to serve the people and work with my colleagues, many of whom I've known over a decade. Thank you for having me here. Oh, my aides. Sorry, I cannot forget my terrific aides, Logan Slaughter and Isabel Baldour in the back, far back. Terrific aides, and I appreciate all they do.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Kelly Skidmore. I represent District 92, which is unincorporated parts of Palm Beach County in Boca Raton, Delray Beach, and Boynton Beach, so no municipalities. Again, it's a delight to be here. Today, Amy Chamberlain from my office is here, and Gwen Gonzalez is at home with her son who has the flu.
I would also like to welcome the Board of County Commissioners and have each of them introduce themselves. So if we start with Commissioner Weiss.
Good morning. I'm Greg Weiss. I have the pleasure of serving as County Commissioner for District 2. District 2 is the northwest part of the city of West Palm Beach, all the way through downtown, and then we go south into Lake Worth Beach and a chunk of Boynton Beach. This will be my last year serving on the County Commission. It has been an absolute honor and privilege to be able to do that and to work with you all as part of our delegation, getting things done for the people of Palm Beach County and the state of Florida. I also want to take a moment, though, to acknowledge the continued anti-Semitism and violence being perpetrated on the Jewish people, not only here, but around the world, as we've seen yesterday. It's time for this to just stop. The violence, the rhetoric, all needs to be turned down, and I believe it's our responsibility as electeds to help lead that charge in making sure that we're not contributing to those comments and creating division amongst our own people.
Next, we have Commissioner Flores.
Good morning, everyone. Commissioner Joel Flores, representing District 3, which is what I consider the heart of Palm Beach County, the central part of the county. From West Palm, Palm Springs, Green Acres, parts of Lake Worth. I feel like I represent the workforce community in the county, and I'm extremely proud of who we are and what we do. And I've had the pleasure of working with Senator Bernard, Deborah, Representative Tendricks, and Representative Gerwig. So I look forward to the discussion today. And like my colleagues, I want to echo their sentiments regarding gun violence. So hopefully we never have anything like that happen here locally. But we as a elected officials, we got to work on that. So thank you. It's an honor to be here with you and look forward to sharing some thoughts and ideas.
Vice Mayor Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Marcy Woodward, Commissioner for District 4. I wrote down my cities so I don't forget. I have 13. Boca Raton, Delray Beach, Boynton Beach, Highland Beach, Gulf Stream, Briny Breezes, Ocean Ridge, Hypoluxo, Lantana, Manalapan, Village of Gulf, South Palm Beach, and 2 precincts in Palm Beach. So that's why I write them down. I don't want to forget. A very happy little corner of Southeast Palm Beach County, most of the coast. It's a good district. Happy to be here. I do have Nicole Bellata with me from my office, and happy to be here today. Thank you for all who also represent my area.
Thank you. And I am the mayor. My district is actually District 6, so I represent Belglade, South Bay, Pahokee, Wellington, Royal Palm Beach, Westlake, Loxahatchee, Groves, and I don't think I forgot any. But I have a very large district. I have 1,300 square miles. I'm very honored to also represent Indian Trails Improvement District and the Everglades Agricultural Area, which are huge parts of my district. I'm glad to have John Carter here as Chief of Staff to my office. He's been coming to legislative delegations a lot longer than I've been in politics. So most people know him and have been around. He does everything legislatively for my office. So if you need any help with that, I ask you to reach out to him. And I want to thank everyone for being here today. We will have staff. I would like to also introduce Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My name is Joseph Abruzzo, County Administrator. I serve at the pleasure of the Board of County Commissioners. It is so great to see so many former friends, colleagues that I served with.
Still.
Well, in the legislature. In the legislature.
Former friends.
I'm sorry?
Still friends.
Still friends, but so great to see you as former colleagues. Yes, always friends, many family. It is really great to see you. I did want to take a quick moment to acknowledge the wide range of staff we have. I won't name all of them, but I just want the legislators to know as we make our comments today, you have many of the heads of the 30-plus departments from county administration. So they are listening and here to answer any questions as well. I know we'll be hearing a lot from our legislative team. We did, with the support of our board, we were able to ramp up our legislative team in the county, both internally and externally, so you'll be hearing a little bit about that. I did also wanted to acknowledge, and I know many of you served in this capacity as well. I was there when we had 2 separate gubernatorial turnovers, and these sessions as we head into the last year of a governor's term are always difficult and challenging, so we recognize that from our administration side. I did want to point out, and as many of you know me, I like to cut right to the chase. The financial health of Palm Beach County is remarkable due to the fact of the Board of County Commissioners. When I served as clerk and comptroller, I would go into the community, I would have a slide, and it showed by 2044, we would actually, if it was the will of the board, be debt-free. I wouldn't recommend that. That means all capital improvement stops and we're not bonding out projects. But I bring that up because you do not see that hardly anywhere in the nation if you look at large counties, municipalities throughout the entire United States. We're AAA bond rated. Our financial health is remarkable. Actually, Commissioner Weiss chairs our Financial Policy Committee, which helps set the standard of how we operate on the finance side. The elephant in the room, of course, is going to be property taxes. And as we go through the delegation, I just want to point out a very important key statistic because many don't really know how the board's budget operates. We hear the $9.6 billion budget threshold. That is true when you add all the different components, especially the sheriff's budget into it. But as many of the bills and rhetoric coming from the state indicate that our board cannot dive into certain aspects of the budget, the actual board budget that they could control, if you exclude fire rescue, is $720 million. So when you hear things like the CFO saying slash 344 million, that's nearly half the board's budget. We would cease to be able to operate and meet statutory requirements if that occurred. The House Joint Resolution 201, which would eliminate homesteaded property taxes, would eliminate $609 million of the 720, which would mean we would not be able to operate unless we look for our alternative tax revenue. And I'm going to call it what it is, and this is coming from me, not any member of the board. As I see it, there's only really 3 areas that the board can dip in to make any meaningful gains. It would be raising taxes on non-homesteaded property and commercial. It would be dipping into reserves, and it would be a sales tax. Could be any of the 3 or a combination of the 3. But it's my job, I bring that up because I have to present the budget to the board. And if 201 passes, we are in a situation where our entire funding to operate many of our key components that were required. I see planning, zoning, and building here in the audience. Our libraries, parks, facilities, roads, road and bridges, housing and economic development, I could go on and on. That's what that pot of money is. So this is a serious conversation that we may have to dive into later, and there are serious consequences. This isn't from administration. We understand the need of fiscal responsibility, but we also need to operate a government for the board. And with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor, to recognize.
Thank you. Next, we will move on to Deputy, he changed all the names on us, so I'm still getting used to the new ones. Chief Deputy County Administrator Todd Von Laren.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and appreciate the opportunity to present some ideas to the legislative delegation today with the rest of our team. Alessandro is going to lead us in a majority of our presentation today, and I'm going to focus on the side of property taxes and get into a deeper dive in that in the next couple of slides. I know a lot of you have had a chance to meet Alessandro already, our new legislative director. Ryan is also with us today. I saw him earlier a minute ago, who's our Intergovernmental Affairs Director. There's Ryan. Thank you, Ryan, very much. And then Tom Nadler, who might be a new face to some of you as well, one of our Deputy County Administrators, is overseeing directly some of our intergovernmental affairs, and he comes with a great deal of private sector intergovernmental affairs himself. So with that, Alessandro, I would turn it over to you to lead us through. And as we go through the presentation, through each slide and subject area, we'll take a brief pause. If there's any questions or comments from any of the legislators or commissioners, we'll kind of take it that way as we go through, and that might help flow some of the discussion a little bit better in those specific areas. So thank you, Madam Mayor. Alessandro.
Good morning, commissioners, members of the legislative delegation. Proud to welcome you to Palm Beach State College, Loxahatchee Grove campus to have a discussion of the 2026 legislative agenda for Palm Beach County. We'll start with our housing and economic development section. As we know, in 2021, we initially passed the Live Local Act. It was Senator President Kathleen Pasadomo's priority coming out of the COVID pandemic. We expect a Live Local iteration of the legislation to come back this legislative session, followed by Representative Redondo in the House and Senator Calatayud in the Senate. We'll closely monitor any changes that are proposed in the Live Local Act this session. As you may know, my former boss, Representative Vicky Lopez, was the sponsor in the House, and I'm proud to have worked on that piece of legislation. Our next piece of legislation is SB 664 that was filed by Senator Bernard, who worked alongside Representative Tendrich last legislative session on this piece of legislation, prohibiting mid-year rent increases on taxpayer-funded units. And these are leases that are 13 or months more, prohibiting mid-year rent increases, pricing out the tenants that receive taxpayer-funded units, whether it's federal, state, or local, and we are advocating for that piece of legislation as well this session. And finally, in the housing and economic development section, we have County Road 880. This is the 18-mile stretch of road out west, the Farm Market Road, very vital for our farmers that are losing yield, and we have a lot of demucking under the road that we have to repave and reconstruct the road completely. This legislative session, Rural Renaissance Package, has been refiled, SB 250, by Senator Simon, and is now ready for consideration on the Senate floor, with the county incentive grant program language that was included in last year's iteration of the Rural Renaissance Package. In addition, we do have a direct appropriations for the replacement of the C-51 and the Sam Center Road bridges, sponsored by Senator Harrell and Representative Gerwig, to address the reconstruction of County Road 880. I'm open to comments or questions. Or we can move on.
Hi.
Yes.
Senator Bernard.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Just on the County Road 880 part, and last week that was the bill was heard in the Appropriations Committee. So very happy with the work that Palm Beach County is doing to try to make sure that State Road 880 is to be funded, and also I want to thank the mayor for working so hard on this issue, because that's so important for the western part of Palm Beach County. Thank you.
I will add that we are also working with our lobby team to include the county incentive grant program language in the DOT package, as we don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket. We'll start with
Senator Harrell, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to follow a little up on 880, County Road 880. Last year, as you know, it was in the package, the Rural Renaissance Package, and it just passed the Large Appropriations Committee this past week when we were in Tallahassee, and I specifically asked, would 880 be eligible for both the specific funding that we have in the for the bridge replacement, and also be within 880, but also be eligible for SCOP funding. And that's usually for counties, small counties that are fiscally constrained. And of course, Palm Beach is neither small nor fiscally constrained. So, and there is special terminology in the bill to allow Palm Beach County to access that SCOP funding. So I was very pleased to hear that, and hopefully we get it passed this year. We need our members in the House to talk with the Speaker and make sure we get that passed this year. Thank you.
And just for clarification, the SB 250 would strike the SCOP funding that's currently in statute and provide up to $15 million through 2032 annually for the reconstruction of County Road 880 and other roads within the Everglades agricultural area as currently written in SB 250. Moving on to the healthcare silo of our legislative priorities. First, we have our local bill sponsored by Representative Gerwig. This is HB 4033. So in Palm Beach County, we are licensed our child care facilities through DOH, and 63 of other counties it is through DCF. And this bill would align with DCF's maximum capacity requirements for child care facilities. Next, we are supportive of increased funding for our transportation disadvantage funding with our Palm Tran department, providing services to our vulnerable population here in Palm Beach County, as well as increased funding and protections for our vulnerable population of adults and students with disabilities. In addition, we are supportive of our state attorney's glitch legislation this legislative session on sober homes. Thank you, Senator Harrell, for your sponsorship of that bill and many years of work on that good piece of legislation. And finally, we are supportive of a public records exemption for a medical examiner. This is HB 21, followed by Representative Kendall, and SB 258, sponsored by Senator Burgess. And I'm open it up to comments and questions.
Senator Harrell, I assume yours is still up from the last time you spoke?
Pardon me.
Thank you. Please
So,
proceed.
Madam Mayor and delegation members, for the next few slides, we really want to dive in deep on the issue of property taxes. First off, I wanted to thank Chair Toby Oberdorf. He came and spent about 3 hours with our Board of County Commissioners, Chair of the House Property Tax Committee, to really dive into both the bills that are pending through the legislature, as well as have a better understanding of how we budget locally. We're going to talk a little bit about that in the next couple of slides, but first, just wanted to share a few things. As we are looking at the bills, and we'll dive into the 8 bills and specifically the 4 that are have moved through 2 committees already. I know that Senator Bernard, we've had an opportunity to engage with him as well and share back and forth on conversations and discussions about his legislation in the Senate, which in some cases mirrors some of what we see in the House, but just with some different nuances and specifics that he's added to those. But as we have that conversation of property taxes, the issue of unfunded mandates is one that continues to come up fairly repetitively. When we testified before the House Select Committee, we shared with them a list of close to $50 million in unfunded mandates that the legislature imposes on us today that are part of our budget. We have several bills that are still pending out there today. So, for example, issues about local government business taxes and the inability to be able to collect those kinds of taxes, the issue of certain delays in permits and putting restrictions on local governments. All of those come with some finance and some financial amount of money. So as you are reviewing and looking at these bills and unfunded mandates that come along, please keep that in mind as how that fits into the bigger puzzle of our county's budget. Also, our tourist development taxes as well. We've listed a few bills. There's a slight typo. SB 444 is actually, we meant to put 446. 444 actually is requiring instruction in cursive writing. So my 5-year-old daughter and I this past week, we were going over our letters with each other, and I was writing them out. And she said, "Daddy, you should take a lesson in cursive writing." So I would just say, if you can expand that to adults and not children on that bill, that would be much more preferable. But 446, 454 through 458, those are ones that really expand the use of tourist development tax dollars. And I know that Orange County is a big focus of this, but we just also ask, as you kind of review those types of things, that you think about in the big picture our situation in your counties that you represent and how we use those dollars to market probably one of our most precious industries. If we turn to the next slide, this really gives you a little overview of our budget. And I wanted to just share some of this with our legislators so you kind of can put this in perspective. So if you look at the side that deals where the larger blue is, where it says fund balance of $4.4 billion. So that part of that $9.6 billion budget that Administrator Abruzzo talked about includes over $2 million in reserves, and the balance is in our capital program and projects that are currently pending, and we have allocated those dollars going forward. So we've sort of locked that down over our capital program and our reserves. Keep in mind, our reserves is about 21% of our budget, just a few percentage less than where the Speaker of the House said we should be, which is at 25%, and that's the goal he's put on the state budget for that. So we are trying to mirror the state in making sure that our reserves are locked down. So those pieces of our budget we hold in a very sacred place to make sure that we keep those intact.
Todd, Madam Mayor. When it comes to reserves, and I mentioned the AAA bond rating, there's 3 main credit rating agencies that rate us. And as administrator, I have to present to them every year. It's a full day of presentation. They make the determination if we hold that AAA bond rating. 2 out of the 3, which it's all independent and separately when I present to them, acknowledge that we were right at the median, right in the perfect spot to maintain that AAA bond rating, and they highly recommended we do not move off of where we are with the reserves that we have. Todd?
So,
Excuse me, Todd.
Yes, ma'am.
Could we explain for the purposes of the public what that AAA bond rating does and how much it saves us? Because there have been some conversations that we shouldn't have to keep so much in reserves, and we're not saving that much in interest on the bonds regardless of how large our reserves are. So if we could cover that a little bit, it would be great.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When we talk about the AAA bond rating, it supports our community through a variety of ways. First of all, when we bond projects, all the advancement that we see in the county, we are getting the best interest rate possible for a government entity, which means it costs the taxpayer less. If we were to lose that AAA bond rating and go down to A++ or AA, we would have to pay more for projects, meaning more taxpayer dollars. On the investment income, We're making over $250 million a year on investment. A lot of that has to do with the fact of our financial health. So we will not earn interest the way that we are if we fell below that AAA bond rating. It is the benchmark for the financial health that the Board of County Commissioners, all of them up here, have put us in. We are the best of the best when it comes to our financial health. So it is very important we maintain that AAA bond rating, or projects will cost more, will be earning less, and it will put us behind the 8 ball. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And for anyone who would like those exact numbers, please just reach out and request them, and we'll send them to you.
I have a question.
Oh, excuse me, Representative Gerwig, you're recognized.
Thank you. And I think it's important to address the question of why do we need bonds if we have reserves and we can loan ourselves the money. The point of having a bond is you're charging your current residents for that service. If you self-fund things and you don't use bonds, you're actually charging people who aren't going to realize the benefit of that item you're bonding. So I think that's an important discussion. People have always asked us, well, why do you bond things in the first place if you have the ability to fund things differently? And that's the reason. So I think it's a good thing to address. Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Please.
Thank you. Also, keeping the reserves healthy, we have been told by our federal partners, if hurricanes hit, which obviously they will, FEMA's not in the position to help as much as they did in the past. So we have to keep our liquidity, meaning our cash, available. So it's both a protective measure that we could fund certain things. As mentioned, and I know Chief Deputy Administrator Von Laren will go through it in a little bit more detail, but if one of these bills passes, there might be a short-term funding gap when I look at our budget that we may have to dip into some of our reserves to help fund county departments that we never should have to. So there is an unknown. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Commissioner Flores, you're recognized.
Yeah, Administrator Abruzzo, that's actually what I wanted to touch on is when you look at this, it looks like we have over $2 billion in reserves, but can you actually explain that in a little bit more detail as to how that's distributed, why it's so high, and what's really under our control, and how that impacts our bonding, our ability to get bonds at a AAA rating?
Thank you, Commissioner Flores. So when you look at our overall holdings of our reserves, certain pots of that money, make a long story short, are funded by certain departments that the board cannot dip into, meaning, for instance, the airport or water utilities. They're not paid for by ad valorem, but their excess and reserves are held in that same pot when you look at this chart. To simplify it, and Commissioner Flores is right on, the actual board reserves of the departments that they fund is $406 million. So it is nowhere near what you look at as we dive into these pieces of legislation that cut our budget. So the board has about a little over $400 million in reserves.
So, Madam Mayor, digging into...
Excuse me,
I'm sorry.
Todd. Senator Berman.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Could you explain, so we just saw an article in the newspaper last week that there is a question of whether Palm Beach County will be able to continue to invest in Israel bonds. And I understand part of it has to do with the liquidity because the bonds are often 2 to 3 years. Could you explain where that money, is that Israel bond money considered part of the reserves? And could you elaborate a little bit more about what the situation is with that?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Please.
Thank you, Senator Berman. So yes, it is considered part of the reserves. So the reserve pot is a little tricky in interest of time. As money comes in, certain money gets put into allocations that may move in and out of reserves. It's a full day operation at the clerk. There's actually a department that's moving around money all day. But I want to address the heart of your question. When we buy Israel bonds, and any government entity buys Israel bonds at this point, 50% has to be purchased, it's mandatory, in 2 years, and the other 50% into 3 years. Everything that we look at from the bills pending. The 2-year would be okay, because the way that it would take effect, the board wouldn't be hit with their budget until that 3rd year. But that means the board, with the leadership, as you're well aware, we're the largest holder of Israel bonds in the world. The cap was just temporarily raised. Our holdings, if all stays as planned, will be at over $1 billion. So you see how that can affect if the board budget was completely annihilated and we had to take a look at reserves, especially in a short-term gap situation. So going back to it, 50% 2 years, 50% 3 years. I'm pleased to announce we've made some great gains with Israel Bond. Commissioner Weiss, who is chair of our policy committee and speaking with Israel Bonds along with myself, they have agreed to waive the cap. We would be the first in the nation to allow 100% of our bonds to be purchased at a 2-year period for that liquidity. So we haven't got anything in writing yet, but that is the conversations that we've been having, and if that holds, we're going to be in great shape for liquidity, and it wouldn't affect that. As well as, again, I don't want to state until we get it, but under Commissioner Weiss's leadership, in the conversations with Israel Bonds, we may even be getting a better interest rate. So we're in a good position to continue our relationship if all holds, and we'll be making those announcements as soon as we put pen to paper.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just wanted to reiterate what Administrator Abruzzo was telling us also is that we can invest in long-term bonds in this country, that if we needed to pull them, we could. There's a penalty, but we could do that. That's not the case with the Israel bonds, which is why the 3-year mark was so important, that we not get ourselves tied into 3 years, because we do not have an option to take this early if we needed to. But because of this conversation, we feel pretty comfortable with the 2-year mark. It was that 3rd year, knowing that we can't touch it for 3 years, that made us all uncomfortable. So just wanted to reiterate that point.
Representative Gossett-Seidman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to point out that those who may think that this bonds issue is any kind of a shortfall, that while we are the worldwide leader, many states and municipalities also invest in the Israeli bonds, including New York, Chicago, Texas, California, and Ohio, among others. So it's not like we're alone in this investment. Just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Please continue, Mr. Von Lehren.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as we kind of really look in this pie graph for you again, we talked about the fund balance. The interfund transfer that we have, which is the red area there, that's really just money that we move internally inside the county. Charges for service are much more restricted to specific charges that we make that go directly back, such as water utilities, impact fees, the like. Intergovernmental revenues are dollars, thank you to the delegation, that we receive from the state, the federal government, and then license and permits are some other taxes that we have. So when you see the aqua piece of the pie at $2.167 billion, that represents our share of current property taxes that we collect within our budget, $2.167 billion. So if you flip to the other side on the expenditure, the same kind of pie graph that is taken out, public safety, we spend $2.11 billion on public safety. So about $50 million less we spend on public safety than what we take in property taxes. So almost our entire property tax budget is equal to what we spend in public safety. If you go to the next slide, when we really dive into the expenditure side of things, and this really hits at the heart to Administrator Abruzzo's comments. So that yellow piece, that almost $1.1 billion, is what our sheriff's budget is. And just to go back to the comments that the CFO made, when he came in, he said, look, you guys actually should be spending more money on the sheriff. So he says that number is okay. Keep that number there. And by the way, you can't touch it anyways, because under the legislation we're pending, you can't touch that public safety side. Our constitutionals in the purple, those we can't touch either, because the state requires that we fund that, of which our constitutionals ask to operate. Our debt service is very low in the scheme of things. Our reserves, to just skip over, is about 372 million, so right where the administrator spoke about. And then when you get to the capital and our BCC departments, that represents that $734 million number that the administrator referred to about what really we have in terms of control of dollars, particularly under the proposals pending in the legislature, of where we could cut and where, if there were $344 million that the CFO said in our budget that we should look to cut, where the board would have to specifically look, because we really can't touch some of the other pieces. It's really more that BCC department of $610 million and the capital of $124 million.
Madam Mayor, brief
You're
comment.
recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When Chair Overdorf came to the board meeting, Commissioner Weiss asked him if he disputed any of these numbers, and he said he did not. He said he doesn't envy our job and my job, but he did not dispute these numbers whatsoever. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Please proceed. Actually, I would like to recognize that Representative Edmonds has joined us. Thank you. And I'm going to turn it over to Vice Chair Skidmore to recognize the electeds in the room.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to recognize Erica Whitfield with the Palm Beach County School Board, Jeff Hamara, Mayor of Royal Palm, Roger Mashad, Mayor of Lake Park, and Elizabeth Acamando, sorry for butchering that, Indian Trails Improvement District. Welcome.
Thank you. If you'd please proceed, Mr. Von Lehren.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So just keep in mind that $610 million BCC department. So as we turn to the next slide, this gives you a breakdown of the House bills that have moved through at least one committee or not more, of specifics in terms of what the dollar amounts of the impact both to general fund, fire rescue, and county library would be. And specifically the four bills that are moving in the House of Representatives right now: HJR 201, which is the non-education, homestead exemption elimination, which is about a $608 million hit to our general fund, $208 million to fire rescue, and $44 million to our county library. If that passed, it would essentially be equivalent to what our board spends on the 30-plus other departments that we fund outside of public safety today.
Can I ask a quick question on that?
Please, Representative Gerwig, you're recognized.
Before you go on, Mr. Von Lehren, is anything in these HJRs, any of them, precluding you from raising taxes on businesses and non-homesteaded properties? Because when I see this breakdown of what you're suggesting would have to come out, is anything that we are proposing stopping this from being shifted to some other area?
So,
You're recognized, Mr. Von Lehren.
Madam Mayor, Representative Gerwig, there are restrictions in state law or constitution today that say how fast the valuation of non-homesteaded property can progress. So you have caps in terms of that as well.
10%?
It's 10% today in the Constitution. Homestead is 3% or CPI, non-homestead is 10%. There are pieces of legislation that are pending as well that may adjust some of those kinds of things in terms of a 3-year average, because one of these bills represents a 3-year average when it comes to homestead and non-homesteaded. So instead of 3% a year or 10% a year, it would be 3% over 3 years or 10% over 3 years. And then there's also other restrictions that exist in terms of our Board of County Commissioners, the thresholds of which they need to vote in order to get to rollback, in order to increase taxes to a higher level in terms of majority and supermajority votes. So there are restrictions in terms of how and what we can do in terms of raising some of those revenues as well. So we do have our hands tied in a number of different areas.
Thank you.
Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just to clarify, for us, when we are voting on our millage, there's two different parts of property taxes. The appraisal, which is the 10% that he was referring to, right now is 3% for homestead, 10%. That's based on the value that the property appraiser can increase to us. That we have, that's baked in with our Save Our Homes. The millage is what we, as the Board of County Commissioners, actually vote on. And that also has a cap as well, well, as of right now, because we have to have a supermajority vote, but even that is only, I want to say, like 1.5 points for, if, like, because I think last year we had the option, we voted at 4.5, but the most we could have gone to was like 4.9, wasn't it? It is.
Excuse me, are you referring to the rollback rate?
Well, there's a rollback rate, there's a rollback rate, and then there's also a max increase that's millage. So it's not, Save Our Homes is separate, that's based on the appraisal and what someone's going to be taxed, based on what the millage is. We control the millage. So there's two different parts into your property taxes that I think need to be clarified.
You're recognized.
Yeah, and I'll have Sherry Brown, I know, has got some of those numbers, our OFMB director, so maybe she can share sort of the breakdown of how that works. And obviously, there's a 10 mil cap of what any government entity can levy, and we do have some of our, municipalities that are at or near that cap, as around the state of Florida.
I'd like to recognize that Commissioner Sachs has joined us while we wait for Sherry.
Thank you. There is a maximum millage rate, and it's a calculation set by the state, and it's based on how much our property values increase and what the Florida personal income increase is. And so for the last few years, we have been just slightly above that maximum millage rate. And so to increase it even more would require a unanimous vote of our board. So we've never had to go there. So we are limited as to how much we could increase our maximum millage rate.
Could I ask one clarifying of Sherry?
You're recognized.
And so for us to, if there were to be a unanimous vote of the board, what is the max that we would be allowed to get to?
I didn't
Is the
bring it with
10%
me. I'm
okay.
sorry, I didn't bring it with me, but it is probably around 4.9, somewhere around there. And
I think it was 4 point, because we have to also consider the other taxing districts into that 10%. Is that right?
This one, no. It's
Okay.
only with, like our fire rescue that would have to consider, if they wanted to go above where they are, they have to look at the city's millage rates also, because the cities would be capped at the 10 mills.
Okay. I just wanted it to be clear that the 10% that's part of the Save Our Homes, that's an annual increase, that's the
Right.
most, the appraisal can go up. That
Right.
has nothing to do with the millage. The millage is what we actually vote on.
Correct.
And that still has a formula dictated by the state.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Weiss, you're recognized.
Yeah, and thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. I guess, and to Representative Gerwig, in answering, I think your question is really theoretically almost doubling the millage rate on our non-homesteaded properties. If you wanted to continue to try and fund, and again, they make up, about 60% of our overall budget, but that includes our renters, as well as our commercial properties, and they would bear the brunt of this. And so if you were going to try and hold harmless, yeah, you would be close to doubling their millage rate. And which we could do with a unanimous vote.
Mr. Von Laren.
So, Madam Mayor, just to kind of conclude this particular slide and then open it back up to conversation for you, HGR 205 is a piece of legislation on over
Excuse me,
65%.
Mr. Von Laren, I did not see Commissioner Flores's.
No,
You're
I just
recognized.
wanted to echo Commissioner Weiss's comments. A large component of our residents are renters. So if we increase or almost double the millage rate for non-homesteaded properties, we are really going to have a major impact on affordability of our residents, and we're struggling with that as it is. So increasing the millage on non-homesteaded, it's almost a non-starter. I mean, how people are struggling out there to find affordable housing. The inventory is lacking. 2 years ago, Senator Bernard led a charge to pass a bond to create more inventory. And that inventory, I think we're around 7,000 units that we are sort of compiled so far, and it's not nearly enough. which, by the way, the bulk of this, we've had this conversation time and time again at the county. I think 3/4 have been allocated towards rental, and we're trying to create some for sale properties. But I think we got to remember that these, homestead properties, the taxes that they're paying is a service that the county provides for them. It goes to road, public safety, police, fire. And I understand that it's being taxed on the actual property, but at the end of the day, it goes to provide a service, a level of service that we have all grown accustomed to. When you look at these bills, the impact that it's going to have on our community is going to be drastic. And we're trying to figure out where we're going to get the funding to continue to provide the services that people expect. Because at the end of the day, the services that we provide, planning and zoning, fire, police, we still have to provide that. So, I really don't know where the funding is going to come from if this is cut, because it is going to have a major impact in our community, and I think people are not realizing what this is really going to do to their daily life. Thank you.
Vice Chair Skidmore, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Todd, has the county evaluated the average savings that a homesteaded property owner could expect, minus schools, public safety, fire, and mandates, so that the part that you're left with as a homeowner, do you know what the average savings per household is?
Madam Mayor, and I think that we have some of those numbers that Sherry's put together, because we do provide some of those savings to our board. Just to let you know, I mean, our board twice in the last 4 years has decreased taxes from an ad valorem perspective. And so we share specifically what those savings are going to be, in addition to eliminating the infrastructure sales tax. So 3 times our board in the last 4 years has voted to eliminate sales tax. And Sherry, I don't know if you've got sort of the average on what some of those proposals. I know that when Chair Overdorf came in, he was talking in the neighborhood of $300 savings that they had for some of these specific proposals, but that's more on the statewide level that he was calculated. So we haven't dove into that as detailed on each of these proposals of what they mean from a savings perspective.
And to clarify, it was $300 annually,
Yeah.
not monthly.
My point. My point is
If I may, Madam Mayor,
yeah, I didn't mean to take us down a whole other rabbit trail.
Please, Mr. Bonner, continue.
so just to the standpoint, though, of our ability to raise revenue, I know that was an issue that came up. And Chair Overdorf shared with us, the Florida Handbook for Local Government Taxes, which we know very well. And there are some opportunities in that handbook for us to levy taxes. But I can tell you that our county, for the most part, when it comes to gas tax, we're maxed out, as most counties are on gas tax. We just finished or completing the infrastructure surtax. And we have a transportation surtax that, is available as well. So we're very limited as to where else we can go. And I showed you on those first slides where we're getting some of the other revenue from. It's nowhere near close to making up even a small percentage of what we are getting in property tax. I mean, that's the bread and butter for us, the same way that sales tax is the bread and butter for the state, and income tax is the bread and butter for the federal government in terms of funding their basic underlying services. But Madam Mayor, we just wanted to share these numbers with the board again, as well as with our delegation, to understand to Palm Beach County what these impacts were to our general fund, fire rescue, and county library. And I can assure you that in your next meeting with the League of Cities, these numbers go even farther and deeper in terms of those impacts on our municipalities and our special taxing districts, including the healthcare district and the Children's Services Council as well.
Thank you. When Chair Oberdorf was in our chambers, he had a bill, and I think that I found very favorable and made the most sense. I think at some point, something is going to go on the ballot, and I've asked our board to really take a look at what is being presented, what has been laid out, and instead of just being against everything, find one that I think makes everyone comfortable. Let's get one on the ballot, but also doesn't completely fall on the burden of the non-homesteaded properties. So I think with that, we can move on with the presentation. I do not see any other. Commissioner Woodward, you're recognized.
Thank you. Just before we move on from this, I would like our county legislators here to know this board has had a number of conversations internally with our administrator. We are taking hard looks at our budget. We know we have some stuff that we're going to be working through. But we just ask you, as you look at these bills and whatever comes across, we're also looking at some that we think could be manageable. We are looking at making some internal cuts. Our administrator he's working with Sherry daily on this. My ask of you is, when you look at these bills, to consider not looking at a redistribution, which is what a lot of this feels like. It's not so much a tax cut. It's, you just can't take it from here, find a different place. And it was somewhat disturbing when Representative was with us, mentioning a 300-page document of all the other ways that we can raise revenues. And it's like, so we're just taking it from different pots. And my ask of you is just to help us find a way, in however this bakes out. We know that you're going to need to probably put something on the ballot. The voters want it. They very much do. We know that. Just help us find a way to do it where we're not having to go back and take it out of every other pocket that the voters own, because they're just looking for some relief. It's on us to get into the weeds, and I know you started this conversation, and it's a big one. This is a big deal, and you're going to be putting something on the ballot, and whatever you put, I'm asking you just to help us consider not having to come back and tell us, okay, you have this 300-page document filled with user fees and other taxes and other ways of getting that money from the same people. It's a big ask, but this is a big deal. You're talking about changing the Constitution of Florida here with this. You're changing how local governments, and you'll talk to the League of Cities, it's going to be the same. But we do understand you're going to have to put something. So we just ask you, please consider the needs that we do have to pay for, and what the residents, what the services, and you all live here with us, so you want these same services too, and we hear you. I just thank you for all the time you're going to put into this. I really appreciate it.
Administrator Bruzzo, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A brief point. With property taxes, those who pay federal income taxes, they're able to itemize on a line item their property tax and reduce it from their federal property taxes. For instance, homeowners insurance rates, if those were to come down, they are not able to be itemized. So property taxes is a way that our residents can get a tax relief, unlike other items that you are working on. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Senator Polsky, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to offer a broader perspective, because I do represent Northwest Broward County, and Parkland, who I represent, is the number one city that will get hurt by this. We've seen presentations where they have the most number of homesteaded properties. If you're familiar with Parkland, there's no apartments. Most people who live there, this is their only home. It's not like second homes like we have a lot of in Palm Beach. And so almost all their properties are homesteaded, and there's no commercial activity, almost whatsoever. So they have nowhere to go. And so please bear in mind, especially to the representatives who will be voting on these before the Senate gets them, that there are communities that will really suffer because they have nowhere else to turn for those kinds of taxes to keep the city up. I mean, it's a beautiful city for a reason, and there'd be no money left for them. So, please keep a perspective on all kinds of cities. Some of them are very different from each other. Thank you.
Senator Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I think it's a good conversation that we're having in regards to property taxes. But for me, what I'm not hearing about this conversation, which is the people who are paying the taxes, there's an affordability issue for a lot of residents in this state. And so as the counties and the cities are making their decisions in regards to property taxes, they also need to consider the residents who are paying these taxes and how some of these increases does impact the residents. And so in the Senate, we have the Senate committee will probably eventually look at a bill that we're not sure, the House, they have their 8 bills, and in the Senate, most likely there'll be one bill that will come from the Senate, and that will most likely probably would be the bill that that would provide the relief for some of the residents. But what we're looking at, I know for me, which is how can we provide relief to our seniors who are over 65 years of age and older? How can we provide relief to first-time homesteaders to give them the opportunity to be able to purchase that first home? And can we provide relief to people who've been paying property taxes forever in this state? And can we provide some caps and some reliefs for them in the future? And also, we're looking at our small businesses and renters. Can we provide a cap in terms of we don't want to shift the burden from increasing, like if we reduce the homestead and for the cities and municipalities to shift it to the tenants. And so what we're going to try to look at is, can we provide some cap for some small businesses? So in all, what we're hoping is that, as we're having the discussion in regards to how do we provide relief to the residents, what I'm hoping is that as the cities and the counties are making their, when they're doing the budgets in the future, that they're looking at, okay, how's that going to impact the residents, and not just think of, how we're going to continue to run government, but not realize that somebody's paying those taxes. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Senator. There was a specific bill you had presented. Which bill number was that?
Oh, I have so many bills.
Which one actually, to your point, helped the 65 and older, helped new homesteaded
So that would be,
property
I
owners?
think so we have the 5 bills that HJR 272, 276, I think, is it 270? Which one is it? Which one is it? I can tell you which one.
Well, yours are
So 270. So 270 is the one that SB 270 provides relief to seniors who are 65 years of age and older. SB 274 provides the relief to long-term property holders who've paid property taxes for more than 20 years to cap their increase. The 278 bill provide relief to first-time homesteaders, so in that way we can reduce their tax burdens, so in that way they can purchase their first home. I believe 282 provide the relief to the cap on small business owners, but what we're looking at is to look at also helping the renters, so now we could provide a cap for small business owners for property taxes. And then lastly, I believe 286 is the one, no, not 280. Yeah, 286 provide relief for residents who wants to make improvements on their home. So these are all issues that we're trying to provide relief to residents, and but at the end of the day, we just want the cities and the counties to also consider the residents who are being impacted by these property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. And I like helping specific demographics. So people, I like cutting taxes for people that need help. And I would also like to just reiterate that I think the residents want and need this, but also we don't want to shift burdens. And I think those are very thoughtful bills that we could manage without shifting burdens. Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you so much. There's a button here somewhere. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, very good. I think this is a very healthy discussion, And I want to thank Senator Bernard for putting out those bills. But I think the underlying issue is this. It's affordability. Now, everybody says it's too expensive to live here, and it is very expensive to live in Palm Beach County. However, what is driving up the prices? Is it if we cut property taxes, is that the solution? How about insurance costs? I've had folks come to me and say, you know, Sachs, I pay more in insurance than I do on my mortgage, or I do on my property taxes. I'm homesteaded, I'm a veteran, I'm over 60, I take advantage of everything I can, but this insurance is going up and up and up. Why don't you also cut, or at least review insurance rates for Palm Beach? So I would like to pose a question. Have we done a study as to if we cut property taxes, is this going to immediately make our lives here more affordable? Or if we cut property taxes and review insurance, property insurance, would that also make our lives here more affordable? I think that, has there been, Madam Mayor, a study done as to what we can do as government, as public servants, to make life more affordable here in Palm Beach County?
No, I am not aware of a study. We have looked at numbers internally, but I do not believe we have enough time prior to session starting to do a
We're starting,
study.
yeah, of course, because we're already in committee week. So has the state done a study as to the viability of cutting property taxes, and then that way our lives here would be so much better? And I'm looking at our legislators here. Is there a state study?
Vice Chair Skidmore, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Sachs, for the question. No, a study has not been done, and I will also add that all of the joint resolutions that are being proposed do not have a plan associated with them. So whatever does make it on the ballot, the implementing bill will be created after the fact. So we don't know even what the impact will be on a particular joint resolution. So those are some of the current concerns that many of us have, that not only has there not been a study, there is no plan. And a plan, a goal without a plan is a wish.
Right, and if I may, Madam Mayor, are we going to, is the whole scope of this conversation today with everybody here, which is a great idea, by the way, is this to get a caucus position? Is there going to be a Palm Beach County Legislative Caucus position on the issues of exactly what, I won't call you Senator, Representative Skidmore is talking about? Or are we just going to go our little ways and continue to discuss this? Is there any type of legislative caucus position on this?
Senator Bernard, you're recognized.
No, there's no caucus position because you have the House and the Senate, and we're looking at property taxes differently. But Representative Skidmore and I, we have an insurance bill that we're both running that Representative Skidmore can bring to you. But in regards to Representative Skidmore did mention that they, in the House bills, they do not have any of the implementing bills. So when the residents vote on it, then the legislature would come back. But what we did, I know with my bills were, what we did was we did put the implementing bills, so to say exactly how these bills would be implemented if the residents passed those bills. And so, but in all, what I know for me in regards to looking at property taxes, we're going to try to look at it holistically to see, can we provide relief? If we can, then we will try. But if not, after looking at everything, if not, then we may say we're not going to do anything. But at least we believe that it's important to have this conversation, and where the House is moving in one direction and the Senate will move in a completely different direction.
I would just suggest, Madam Mayor, in closing, that possibly our legislative delegation could review what is in the best interest for the residents of Palm Beach County and discuss the possibility of having a Palm Beach County resolution that every member of the House and the Senate, I mean, we're talking House and the Senate, for this county to come out and say, maybe we need Senator Bernard's position on property taxes. Maybe we need to do a deep study as to what would make our lives and our constituents' lives more affordable here. But in Palm Beach County, this is the position that our legislators will take. Thank you. Thank you.
Administrator Abruzzo.
Thank you. Was Representative, Senator. Clerk, yeah. I say this to that point, Madam Mayor. My comment that I'm about to make, I've actually represented precincts in every one of your districts except for Representative Peggy Gossett-Seidman. Some of your districts, the entire districts, in the 3 seats that I held. And one thing that I know from being in your seats, your districts are the donor counties to the state. What we send up in property taxes and gas taxes, so I say this sincerely. If it is about cutting property taxes and not a bait and switch that you're going to put on our board and on administration to come up with potentially $607 million, actually with fire rescue, over $800 million to fill that gap. Bring back some of that donor money that your districts are spending in sales tax and gas tax, then the board wouldn't have to dig in so deep if any of this passed. Before I conclude my portion of the comment, I did want to make one thing, because I know you'll hear it in Tallahassee, and I know those who are promoting some of these bills will stand up on the floor and talk about the rhetoric that the CFO came down and put upon us a couple weeks ago. That number, the $344 million of fraud, waste, and abuse, is extremely problematic in the way that he presented it. When he said that number, there are no facts, no figures, no examples, nothing. There's nothing that dictates that. And I want to bring to your attention, we have internal auditors. We have external auditors. We have the clerk of the circuit court and comptroller that audits. I was a past chair of JLAC. We provide our auditing to the state every year. They go through it. Our budget is looked at deep. And quite frankly, this was a budget before I came on, and I still take great offense to it, because the way that Sherry Brown, our budget staff, and this board particularly has conducted themselves has been remarkable. It's why I brought up the point that they could actually be debt-free if they choose to be. So there is no fraud, waste, and abuse. To that effect, I did furnish 2 separate public record requests to the CFO to try to get down how he came up with this number, which at this point, I have to take it as a personal opinion with no facts, data, or science behind it beyond a CPI number that weighs consumer goods, basket items, blue jeans, and such into what our county commission has to fund, which when we look at our costs, concrete, heavy machinery, fleet, government compensation, completely separate from going and buy candy for Halloween or blue jeans. So outside of that retail number, we have no idea where these comments come from. You will hear that on the floor of the House and the Senate. I just want to let you know in your debate, and I know you all want facts, not just hearsay or personal opinions, and I implore you to help in the essence of coming down to these real numbers, that they're not just talking points to sell HJR 201. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Administrator. Senator Berman, you're recognized.
Thank you, and I know we want to move on, but I do want to go back to the points that were raised by Senator Sachs. We did ask for a study last year to find that information, and the governor vetoed that. So that's why there has been no study, because it was asked for to figure out what the impacts could be, and we did not get that. I believe, like you, that there are alternatives available. The House and the Senate Democratic Caucus, in addition to the bill that Senator Bernard and Rep. Skidmore have about trying to have a catastrophic insurance fund to make our property insurance lower, which would definitely affect people's pocketbooks directly. We have a bill that says if you're a first-time home buyer, you don't have to pay documentary stamps taxes, which is different because it doesn't affect you in your services. And I worry very much that all these bills that have been proposed are proposed for property taxes and affect services, whereas there are alternatives that we need to look at where we could make things more affordable for our taxpayers without affecting services. So I don't know if we could all agree on a position, but I think that that is something that as we move forward, we as legislators need to think about. What are the alternatives? What can we do to make things more affordable for our citizens without hurting their services? And I hope we go forward in that respect.
Thank you, Senator. Mr.
Madam
Von-
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion. I move to extend our meeting until 11:15.
Second? Or you need a
I
second?
have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Please see the motion carries. Mr. Bundler, and you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and we'll just briefly turn to the next page in the growth management. And I'm going to have Alessandro just kind of lead us briefly through some of the high points of each of these next few slide areas, if that's okay, and then we can wrap it up with questions at the end. Is that fair, Mary?
Please,
Okay.
and if
Alessandro,
we could
please.
do the abridged versions,
Yes,
Mr. Bundler?
we will.
And
That's why I'm gonna
before
have Alessandro do it.
And now-
Yeah. Before continuing on, we wanted to know that HJR 209, which is the $200,000 exemption for property, if you have a comprehensive master property insurance policy, is the only bill that is currently ready for consideration for the House floor. That bill has passed its 3 committee stops, and as the Speaker mentioned in his remarks last session, he would like to pass it off the floor the first week of session. Moving on to our growth management section, we will closely monitor any legislation that impacts our ability to collect impact fees. There have been several growth management bills filed, but I will focus on the most important bill that we are concerned, or that we are monitoring. It is the glitch bill to SB 180, that's SB 840, filed by Senator Nick DeSigli, who filed the SB 180 bill last session. In addition, we are closely monitoring any legislation dealing with transportation infrastructure, as well as the legislative solution to the budget gap that was in the tax package last session that impacted our tri-rural funding. And currently, we are working with our lobby team, as well as Vice Mayor Woodward as chair of SFRTA, to address that issue this legislative session. On the Transportation Networks Company, this is a priority for our airports department, where we have fraudulent rideshare drivers scamming our elderly and vulnerable population, and we are working closely with the industry as well as DOT and DFS to include that in one of their packages this session. And finally, we are closely monitoring any legislation that impacts autonomous vehicles. Moving on to our public safety section, we are proud to report that HB 4035, sponsored by Representative Edmonds, has been filed. This is our second local bill dealing with the Construction Industry Licensing Board, which aligns to best practices and industry standards for the applicants to the board, that they have to have passed and taken their examination before they can apply to the board. We are closely supportive of our appropriations for the Palm Sago facility, sponsored by Representative Weinberger and Senator Berman, for reentry, restore reentry. We are supportive of legislation that would protect our victims of sexual assault, as well as our animal control officers being assaulted. We currently have a supportive of a public records exemption for sexual assault counselors. That is SB 376, followed by Senator Polsky. Representative Long will be filing that bill on the House side shortly. We are also supportive of mobile homes and manufactured safety, priority of Commissioner Flores, to protect our vulnerable and our workforce from building and fire safety violations. That is SB 652, followed by Senator Bernard, and Representative Long will be following that in the House shortly. In addition, to protect our elderly population in Palm Beach County, we have a bill to address the local licensure of home caregivers, followed by Senator Harrell, SB 580, and Representative Skidmore, HB 555. And finally, we will closely monitor any bills that impact our ability to regulate vacation rentals. Moving on to the fire rescue section, and I will address that this local bill has not been filed yet, and it has not been approved by the delegation yet, but this is a county fire priority where it deals with MSTUs, sponsored by Chair Snyder, and this would deal with the taxation that dealing with annexations with municipalities when they annex a unincorporated piece of the county, dealing with the services they provide to the county and the taxations. Finally, we are supportive of the urban search and rescue designation for Palm Beach Fire. Miami-Dade County has 2 USAR teams, and we'd be supportive of having that designation within Palm Beach County, as well as closely monitor and oppose any legislation that impacts our ability to enforce the fire code. In the criminal justice section, we are supportive of funding for reconstructing the Palm Beach County Juvenile Detention Center, as well as legislation that would support our vulnerable foster kids aging out of foster care, as well as legislation that would protect our driver safety, and as well as our law enforcement that have been contaminated their blood for immediately testing of their blood. In the local government section, we are closely monitoring any legislation that impacts annexation as well as local preference. The Sovereign Immunity Bill does not currently have a Senate sponsor, but is ready for consideration on the House floor, and that is HB 145, followed by Rep. McFarland, and that, unlike last year's iteration of this legislation, it would increase the caps from 200,000 to 500,000 to 600,000. It is a more scaled version of last year's iteration, but we are still currently opposed to that legislation. In the building code section, Senator Osgood has filed a bill dealing with condominiums and structural integrity of reserve studies. We are closely monitoring any legislation that impacts property insurance, as well as we are supportive of a public records exemption for county administrators. That is HB 263 and SB 830, followed by Representative Rizzo and Senator Leek, as well as we are supportive of moving the election of constitutional officers from presidential election years to gubernatorial election years. We are supportive of our stakeholders and their appropriations and their priorities through the Early Learning Coalition, the school district, FAU, the libraries, as well as Palm Beach State College. In our environment silo, we are supportive of funding for alternative water supply, as well as our beach and inlet management. We have currently 30.7 in requests and the $35 million local match, as well as legislation that would support for the expansion of reclaimed water, for derelict vessels, for septic sewer to conversion. Our biggest 2 priorities are our appropriations for the Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative and the Loxahatchee River Preservation Initiative, and I'll dive deep into the sponsors in a bit. We covered our 2 local bills. We have Representative Gerwig carrying our HB 433, our child care capacity bill, aligning with DCF's current maximum capacity requirements, as well as Representative Edmonds' Construction Industry Licensing Board bill that aligns with best professional standards in the industry and reduces administrative workload for the Construction Industry Licensing Board. And finally, in our appropriations, the red appropriations are new appropriations. The County Road C51 Sam Center road replacement, followed by Senator Harrell and Representative Gerwig. Our downtown West Palm Beach signalization upgrades, followed by Senator Bernard and Chair Snyder. Australian Avenue, followed by Senator Bernard and Chair Snyder. Our Central County Sport Fieldhouse, followed by Senator Bernard and Representative Gerwig. Our 2 water treatment plans to address PFAS water quality. Water treatment plant number 8, followed by Representative Weinberger and Senator Berman. Our water treatment plant number 2, followed by Senator Bernard, Representative Gerwig. Our Lantana Airport road and roadway and drainage improvements, followed by Representative Tendrich and Senator Bernard. Our Murakami Museum and Japanese Garden, followed by Senator Senator Berman and Representative Skidmore. Our Peanut Island Historic Restoration, followed by Chair Snyder and Senator Bernard. Our Palm Beach County Youth Shelter and Medical Respite Expansion, followed by Senator Harrell and Chair Snyder. Our Burt Aronson Cross-Country Improvements, followed by Senator Polsky and Rep. Skidmore. Our Restore Reentry, followed by Representative Weinberger and Senator Berman. Our Fire Rescue Water Vehicles, followed by Senator Berman and Rep. Weinberger. And finally, our Ocean Inlet Park Pedestrian Safety Improvements, followed by Rep. Gossett-Seidman and Senator Berman. And finally, our water projects. All of the Lake Worth Lagoon Initiative projects are followed by Senator Bernard, and our Loxahatchee River Preservation initiatives are followed on the Senate side by Senator Harrell. We have the Lake Worth Lagoon Barometry Survey, followed by Representative Gossett-Seidman. Our North Lake Living Shoreline as well, followed by Representative Gossett-Seidman. Our City of Green Acres Septic to Sewer, followed by Rep. Gerwig. Our Peanut Island Lake Worth Lagoon Habitat Restoration, followed by Representative Gossett-Seidman. Our Lake Park Septic to Sewer Conversion Project, followed by Representative Edmonds. Our Town of Manalapan Septic to Sewer Conversion, followed by Representative Gerwig. Our Gulf View Heights, followed by Representative Edmonds. And finally, our 2 Locks River Preservation Initiative projects, followed by Representative Gossett-Seidman for the Town of Jupiter, as well as for the South Indian River Water Control District.
Alessandro, that was impressive. If anyone didn't notice, he knew exactly who was on every bill and it wasn't listed up there. Great job. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
And moving on, we have taken up most of our time, so what we have left are basically for comments or any additional concerns to be discussed. If anyone would like to, Senator Polsky, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Thank you all for this important conversation. I did have a separate question. Can someone discuss the possibility of the AI data center being built, and what are your considerations? Maybe you could enlighten us a little on what that might involve.
Thank you,
You can't
Senator
talk about it?
Polsky. We are taking a look at it. It is placed on a pause or a brief until it will come back to the Board of County Commissioners in April. It will be quasi-judicial as well, because the property owners already own it and already have previously approved items for that property. Senator Berman, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have read some information that there could be an air taxi service between West Palm and Miami. Is that something that the commission is going to become involved with in terms of regulating? It's a whole new industry, and how does
Administrator
that work?
Bruzo?
Yeah.
We do, is Laura still here? Yeah.
Our airports director is here.
Yeah, and so that is an initiative being pushed by, or championed by, I should say, Related Ross. And Commissioner Weiss, I believe, Madam Mayor, knows some information, plus we have our airport director.
So,
If you would like to, please join us.
I mean, the board, we approved a lease over at the airport for a vertiport. I want to say it was 5 years ago.
It was approximately 5 years ago. We have a vertiport location on Palm Beach International. We're currently still working with the FAA to review airspace for that specific location. I think what you're referring to is probably the news articles related to Archer Aviation that came out. We do not have any sort of agreement with Archer Aviation. If Archer Aviation wanted to partner with the vertiport developer, they certainly could engage in those conversations. It's not something that the county would necessarily be involved in. It is an agnostic vertiport site. In terms of regulation of the actual air traffic, that's not something that we would be doing at a local level. That really would be the federal government, the FAA.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
Mayor, quick thing. Now that we have Laura Beebe here, we should probably mention SB 706, which was filed by Senator Mayfield. Representative Weinberg will be following the companion on the House side. This would preempt the naming of airports to the state and would rename our airport PBIA after the president. Just wanted to share in concerns initially. This would have a tremendous fiscal to the county, changing all of our branding and signage. And Laura can speak to some initial concerns that we currently have.
Sure. Our primary concerns have to do with funding. One would be payment for changing of branding and signage. There are also some concerns that have been raised by our attorneys regarding trademark infringement and violation of a state law related to use of the name without permission. So those are some challenges we're going to need to work through with the legislators to make sure that we don't put the county in that position. We also don't want to be in the position of paying royalty fees for use of the name either. The president is actually very unique in that his name is actually a brand and is trademarked with the state and the federal government. So those are really the primary concerns, is funding related.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sachs, you're recognized.
Thank you. And this is in relation to Senator Polsky's question about the AI. One of the reasons, Senator, that we asked for the pause is to see the review that is being done by one of the committees in the state legislature. So I believe you're going to be reviewing that possibility for the entire state of Florida. We wanted to piggyback on that and see what you were saying with regard to that. So we'll be waiting for you all. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Senator Bernard, you're recognized.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. It's a pleasure to be here this morning to have a discussion in regards to issues that we will take on in Tallahassee. As you know, that we are a delegation that represents Palm Beach County very, very well, and we look forward to working together. As for me, I represent 18 cities. I'm on 9 committees, and I may have like probably 75 appropriations that I'm running this session, 22 bills, and counting. But at the end of the day, what we're hoping is that we represent Palm Beach County to bring as many of the resources that, as Administrator Bruzzo says, we're a donor county, and what we're hoping is that to bring as many of the resources back to Palm Beach County. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Senator Bernard. Representative Gerwig, you're recognized.
I'll go quickly on this one. I just want to thank Palm Beach State College for the use of this facility. I know we did it at the beginning, but it's such a benefit to the area that I want to make sure that you look around while you're here and see the improvements they've made. It's going to provide services for dental health to the area in a much more comprehensive way. So thank you to Palm Beach State College.
And thank you for those comments. I do not see any others. Meeting adjourned.
For any of the commissioners or the legislators, the Palm Beach